Dear friends, today I shall be sharing with you some amazing reflections of George Townshend about Abdu'l-Baha, who was the son and successor of Baha'u'llah, in turn the founder of the Baha'i faith. Abdu'l-Baha was also the sole authorized interpreter of Baha'u'llah's writings, as well as the exemplar of his teachings. So we study the life of Abdu'l-Baha, his ways, his attitudes, his actions, and we understand how to live our lives based on the teachings of Baha'u'llah, which are about loving kindness, forgiveness, justice, cooperation, and equality. George Townshend, the Archdeacon of Clonfert, and at some point of time, the canon of St. Patrick's Cathedral, was an Irish man who had studied in Oxford. He embraced the Baha'i faith at age 70 after receiving a single tablet from Abdu'l-Baha in reply to his own letter. He corresponded with Shoghi Effendi, the beloved guardian, for 35 years, and earlier with Abdu'l-Baha himself. The beloved guardian, Shoghi Effendi, appointed George Townshend as Hand of the Cause of God in 1951, and in this capacity Townshend served until he passed away in 1957. Shoghi Effendi regarded him as the preeminent Baha'i writer and one of the luminaries of the United Kingdom. In his essay, The Way of the Master, Townshend writes about Abdu'l-Baha's character, how he loved God and he loved everyone, including his enemies, how he gave blessings for curses and loving kindness for cruelty, and how his entire life was filled with love and forgiveness, as well as wisdom. Abdu'l-Baha left a multitude of people mourning his passing away. Jews, Christians, Muslims, men, women, and children, Greeks, Egyptians, Arabs, Iranians, Turks, Kurds, and Europeans as well as Americans mourned his passing with tearful eyes. His funeral, attended by so many people of various and diverse backgrounds, was indeed a unique sight and a feast of love. Abdu'l-Baha endured and transcended the utmost power of evil in the most malevolent forms of envy, covetousness, jealousy, hatred, and injustice. His dominant character was that of spirituality. He never regarded anything good in his life as something separate from God. He even did not consider his good qualities to be that of his own. He said they were all because of the beneficence of God, and they were all divine bestowals. His single aim was to serve God and humanity. He endured exile and imprisonment from the tender age of 6 up until the time when he was 67. So that makes 6 decades, 60 years in exile and in prison. But he never cared for this. In fact, he was happy. He said, I feel close to God, and that is why even this imprisonment makes me happy, because it is in the service of God. He said, true prison is the prison of self. When we are ruled by the dictates of the insistent self, the lower self, and these are jealousy, hatred, and bitterness. Abdu'l-Baha's clothes were simple, but absolutely and spotlessly clean. He always said to his family members, let your garments be such that they will be an example to the rich and an encouragement to the poor. At one point, when Abdu'l-Baha was paraded through the streets with chains on his neck, the guards who had grown to like him tried to cover the chains lest anyone would ridicule him. They tried to cover the chains with Abdu'l-Baha's robe. But Abdu'l-Baha removed the coverings and he said, I want everyone to see that I bore exile and imprisonment for the love of God. Once in America, he was invited to a luncheon, and he was accompanied there by an African-American attorney who had accompanied him to Harvard University, where he had just delivered a speech. In those days, African-Americans were called blacks and even Negroes. And it was against social norms to have blacks seated with whites at the same table. So while Abdu'l-Baha was taken to the dining table, his friend Louis Gregory was not. Abdu'l-Baha looked at the elegant dining room and all the white faces, everyone seated at the table according to rank and position. And as he was always the master of situations and quick and wise to correct what had been wrong, he suddenly stood up and said, where is my friend, Mr. Louis Gregory? Please bring him. The host was too embarrassed, and he went after the black man. Everyone at the table was also left speechless. The host actually went into the street to bring back the black man, and he did. Meanwhile, Abdu'l-Baha made extra room and put an unoccupied chair next to himself on his right side, which was actually the seat of honor. And when Louis Gregory entered, Abdu'l-Baha insisted that he join him there. Thus, with a single stroke, Abdu'l-Baha defied Washington Protocol. And he swept aside the practice of segregation by race and categorization by social rank. This was not the first time or the only time that Abdu'l-Baha broke racial taboos in the West. He did this on several other occasions as well and promoted racial unity. In Haifa and of Palestine, where he lived, as well as in the West, where he traveled from 1911 to 1913, Abdu'l-Baha always dispensed with charity to the poor. In Haifa, every single Friday, the poor went to Abdu'l-Baha's door and took material gifts from him, coins. They took coins from him, which he gave them with a lot of love. Abdu'l-Baha also visited the poor and the needy personally. He went to their homes and gave them material gifts. In the West as well, he always carried a bag of coins and gave them away to the needy. In New York, he visited the Bowery Mission, and there he delivered one of his most moving addresses. Friends, I'm going to read out this entire address to you. This is what he said. "Tonight I'm very happy, for I have come here to meet my friends. I consider you my relatives, my companions, and I am your comrade. You must be thankful to God that you are poor, for His Holiness Jesus Christ has said, 'Blessed are the poor.' He never said, 'Blessed are the rich.' He said too that the kingdom is for the poor. Therefore, you must be thankful to God that though in this world you are indigent, yet the treasuries of God is within your reach. And although in the material realm you are poor, yet in the kingdom of God you are precious. His Holiness Jesus himself was poor. He did not belong to the rich. He passed his time in the desert, traveling among the poor, and lived upon the herbs of the field. He had no place to lay his head, no place to lay his head, no home, yet he chose this rather than riches. It was the poor who accepted him first, not the rich. Therefore, you are the disciples of Christ. The disciples of Christ. You are his comrades. Your lives are similar to his life. Your attitude is like unto his. You resemble him. We must thank God that we have been so blessed with real riches. And in conclusion, I ask you to accept me as your servant. At the end of this meeting, Abdu'l-Baha stood at the Bowery entrance and shook hands with some 400 to 500 men, passing into each palm a piece of silver. Abdu'l-Baha also answered the needs of those whose poverty was spiritual, like jailers or guards. He showed forbearance who displayed ill wish and malice towards him. He said, this is what he said, the cause of God will advance through kindness, and mean people are won not through harshness and criticism, but through love. When asked how one could love mean people, Abdu'l-Baha said, through God. It is possible to love everyone, including the mean, through the love of God. It is like when one receives a flower and loves it because of the person who has sent it, or one receives a letter in a torn and dirty envelope, but loves it because of the person who has sent it. In the same manner, he said, it is possible to love everyone because of the Creator who created them all and loves them all, because of God.